Everybody hates Chris.
You are now tuned in to the Bn4p podcast.
Not 5, not 6, not 7. Hey, and when I say that, I really believe it.
First things first, I want to start off addressing Bucks Twitter in general as a whole. Stop taking this shit so seriously. It's not personal. These are literally just opinions. They're not meant to be anything more than that. And the ones that are, just taking it to a level of disrespect, it's just completely uncalled for, And sometimes, I know people troll, people, do this, that, and the third, but you can clearly see the difference between somebody's just like, doing whatever, saying whatever for the fun of it, for the hell of it, and then you can see when people are literally like taking it personally. You know what I mean? Like, I've gotten blocked by so many people within Bucks Twitter. You know what I mean? Just because where I stand and how I view the team. You know what I mean? In particular, one player, and then we're gonna get there though. We're gonna get there. But all in all, stop taking it so personally. You know what I mean? Nobody's tweets will affect real game situations. You know what I mean? And if it does, that player doesn't need to be in the NBA, if that makes sense. Because, this is your duty. This is your job. You're getting paid millions to do this. So if a random person has a few, words that in their eyes is what they see, is what is their critique, is what they find as a flaw within that person's game or the team as a whole, that's their right to that opinion. But, for once to, take it personal or to think that it, is bigger than what it is, it's kind of like, it's getting kind of old. It's getting kind of old. To have the audacity to gatekeep fandom within a sports team's community, it's pretty hilarious. Coming from a bunch of Twitter profiles, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, okay, so I view, or somebody else may view things one way about a team or about a player, and you may not feel that way, and you strongly feel this way, and you have all the stat porn to back you up. You know what I mean? And you feel like this person isn't a true fan. This isn't a real fan. Drop your ego, man. It's not that deep, bro. Or sis. And this kind of ties into the whole idea that there's a particular group within Bucks Twitter that's hell bent on always being right. When we're doing these little debates and everybody's giving their takes on this, that, and the third. And it's almost as if, your ego is so large, or your need to feel like you're the ultimate Bucks fan. That feeling is driving you insane to the point to where you think we're just trying to be right, and it's not. We're trying to be right, or those that are that fit this description. It's not like they're trying to be right. It's just you were wrong. Like, it's not like, I didn't make you become a stan of a player that's inconsistent. And I'm sure you wish he wasn't inconsistent like we all do. We this is not something we want, but it's something that needs to be addressed. And when it's done, whether it's done in a way you like it or not, it's justified. So the whole getting personal and, taking it to an extreme to the point to where it's like, okay, since you know it all and everything you're saying is right and what we're saying is wrong, then why isn't he proving it on the court? Y'all are talking more than his game is talking. And that's where the issue lies. And with that being said, I want to address and acknowledge the infamous and obnoxious Khris Middleton cult. The 22 Colt. You guys drool at the thought of mediocrity. And I just can't get behind that, man. And that's why I'm pushing the Bn4 movement, man. Like, I'm not going into a series already expecting 2 losses. Even though I know that's majority of you guys. You guys look at it, oh, well, it's just a saying. It's just, it's a part of the Bucks culture. Well, Brandon Jennings cursed us, believe it or not. Somehow, some way, he found the power to do that. Whether it was intentional or not. We're trying to win a ring, man. Like, we need to raise that bar. Raise it back up. That bar needs to be raised for the team in general, but also for our second superstar position. Like, that number, that second option guy, the standard needs to be way higher. We're settling. We're definitely settling. Yes, even when he scores 20 points and he gets a couple assists and a couple of rebounds, we're still settling. He still doesn't play great defense. He still turns the ball over. He still can't dribble that well. He still has questionable passes. He still has questionable effort, questionable energy. He still has a lot of flaws in his game that we just can't have for a guy that has such a large role in this whole agenda, this whole mission that we are on as a team, as an organization. I don't know if you guys are aware, but the Milwaukee Bucks organization has 1 championship in franchise history. 1. 50 years ago. And I understand the love for Khris for a lot of you guys, to a certain extent, because I don't necessarily believe in loving nor hating, strangers. It just doesn't, I don't put that much, care or connection with these people. I'm connected with the team, the Milwaukee Bucks, because I was born in Milwaukee. So I have to represent. That's just what it is. So it doesn't matter who's on the team. If you're not, in my eyes, operating in a way that is going to lead to success for us, you have to go. And that's not hate. That's not hate whatsoever.
That's called motherfucking bars, nigga. You know nothing about that.
It could be Giannis, but it's not. But it could be. And I would want him gone. But of course, Giannis, he brings it to the best of his abilities. And we don't necessarily have to question his effort, his energy, his want. Everything he does, he's the epitome, you know what I mean, of what we want here in Milwaukee as a Bucks player. And then you can also say the same about Jrue Holiday. But I feel like a lot of people thought it was the same for Khris Middleton up until about, I would say more so this year, because I feel like this season is the season that a lot of people are actually getting on to the idea, okay, we may need to trade this guy. We may need to get rid of him. We may need to find a better, or even if some people, you might not even have to say better, because I don't even want to knock his game completely, because like he's a really good player. Like I say, he's a good player. But we just need to try something different, something new, something that may be a little bit more compatible. And I understand that throughout the years, especially the ones who have grown to love Khris Middleton, this is all they know. You know what I mean? This is all they've seen in a Bucks uniform for the most part. So he's producing. The stats look good. The narrative looks great. He's not the issue. He's not the problem. Well, I feel like once Jrue Holiday came on a team, it became a little bit more evident that he's extremely flawed as a basketball player. He's not a bad basketball player. He doesn't suck. He's really good. But he's not necessarily what we need to break out of this slump, this 50-year slump of not winning a championship. we can't have a player in such an important role that always finds himself in a slump when we're trying to get out of a slump as an organization. And that's not hate. That's not hate whatsoever.
That's called motherfucking bars, nigga. You know nothing about that.
And I think our fans got a little spoiled with the Eastern Conference Finals appearance. It's almost as if that team, that moment, that feeling set the standard. And I think that bar is too low for us because hence we're trying to win a championship, guys and gals. The goal is a trophy. Diamond rings on the whole squad. That is the goal. Mind you, it's been 2 years now, and judging on the eye test, and I'm pretty sure there are stats out there to back this up, but I'm not a stat porn addict, so I won't necessarily be the guy that's naming off a lot of stats. Although of course, I feel like as an NBA fan, as a basketball fan, you definitely tune into stats, but I don't use that as for my argument. I don't need it. It's cool to use, to have, to bring as ammunition to help your own thoughts, but I can think for myself. It's not a knock on anybody else who loves stats and stuff like that, but I know what I'm looking at when I watch TV, when I watch us play. And this is coming from somebody with an extensive basketball background. And that's nothing to necessarily toot my own horn about because, I'm pretty sure majority of Bucks Twitter has played basketball before. But I'm just very confident in my instincts and my knowledge of the game, to the point to where I don't necessarily need other people to put things into perspective for me when I can just view it myself.
Shit like that.
And from what I've seen, we don't look like the same team that was in the Eastern Conference Finals. And I see that with my eyes, and also it's like a feeling. And I think we all kind of have had that feeling at some point in time this season. We've had our highs this season, we've had our lows, as a team, as a whole. But all in all, there are a lot more people that could see us, being a second round exit. I don't really think people see us being a first round exit, although I've seen that a few times on Twitter, but those could have been trolls. And that happens a lot. You'll see takes on Twitter, within Bucks Twitter that, people aren't really being serious. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's hard to differentiate that, but I feel like, for the most part, anybody who said we're a first round exit this season, they're trolling. You have to be trolling because Giannis is way too good for us to go out in the first round. I'm sorry. I don't care who on the planet is playing us. That's just what it is. You know what I mean? But unless we're facing the Miami Heat, I think you have to be a little bit more realistic about your Bucks fandom. If you think, we shouldn't worry about facing the Heat in the first round. You know what I'm saying? I know the bubble in a lot of our eyes, was not necessarily a fluke, but that series, if Giannis was healthy and, some calls went our way, it could have went a lot differently. But it didn't. So with that being said, I'm not going to sit here and say, if we face the Heat, we're going to win for sure. I don't know that. They have to prove that. It's been 50 years since we won a ring. So I'm not giving passes. They have to prove that. I don't know these men. I root for them, you know what I'm saying? And I root for Khris Middleton also, for the ones who don't think that I do. I'm just one who's, I still have a taste in my mouth of being 2 games away from winning an NBA Finals. And I don't know if some of you guys have forgotten that, but we were literally so close. And the way I see it, if we would have actually got there, and if things would have played out exactly how they did in the West, as far as injuries, etc., we would have won a ring. We would have definitely won a ring. And I think the ripple effect to us heading back towards mediocrity started with us letting Brogdon go. And I think a lot of people, even outside of Bucks, Twitter, Bucks fandom, anybody who just supports the Bucks like the Bucks, a lot of people thought that we shouldn't have let him go, and when we did, that was a dumb thing to do, especially after signing Bledsoe. And I understand, you signed Bledsoe, so you couldn't sign Brogdon. He had to do it. Believe in Horst. Nah, man. Horst is known for handing out bad contracts. It is what it is. I'm not vouching for him either. You hand out a bad contract to Bledsoe. You hand out a bad contract to Middleton. In my eyes, to some people, he's deserving of $40 million, but I don't know why. Handed out bad contracts. Brook Lopez making $14 million. Next year after that, something like that. Just I'm not too sure what Horst has in mind as a GM. I think he puts personal relationships and friendships over winning championships and titles. And if that is the case, I could be wrong, but based on results, I don't know. It looks a little slow for Mr. Horst. And unfortunately, he almost looked like a genius with that bogey situation, but somehow, some way, we messed that up. And I know most people want to blame Woj, and I'm not necessarily going to blame Woj, to be honest, because who told Woj? It's not like Woj woke up one day and said, Bogey went to the Bucks. I know. I just thought about it. I figured it out. No, he didn't. Somebody had to give him that information. And from it going from, between the Bucks organization, the Bucks front office, and Bogey's people to getting to Woj, I have to blame that on the Bucks front office. Somehow, some way, they have to be accountable for that. And that's just my line that's drawn in the sand, and I'm on the side of, you know what I mean? We messed that up. Horst messed that up somehow, some way. So if that bogey situation went through, we'll be looking at a whole different scenario for our team. But it didn't go through. And we're starting Dante at the shooting guard position. And we're still relying heavily on Khris Middleton to be this fringe superstar. And I'm saying fringe superstar because of his coat and where they have placed him amongst others in the league. There are ones, who are opposed to trading for Harden. There are people who are opposed to trying to get Bill or trying to get Bill in the future. I know in this past deadline, we didn't necessarily try to do anything, it seems. But in the offseason, Giannis definitely said he wanted Bradley Beal. He said bogey, but he definitely said Bradley Beal. And I know a lot of the stands act like he never said that, but he said that, y'all. And it's not rocket science. If you're getting Bradley Beal, you're giving up Khris Middleton. And that's 2 + 2 = 4. And I know that's unfortunate for a lot of 22 cult members. But Giannis said that out of his own mouth. He said that. He wanted Bradley Beal. But there are also, those that think that Khris Middleton is better than Klay Thompson. A healthy Klay Thompson, that is. Jimmy Butler. Jason Tatum. Jaylen Brown. Zach LaVine. I could go on and on. But these takes are simply not true. And that's not hate. That's not hate whatsoever.
That's called motherfucking bars, nigga. You know nothing about that.
If you were to swap Khris with either of those guys that I just named, we'll probably have a ring right now. And don't give me, Zach, this is his first All-Star appearance, or JB, this is his first All-Star appearance. Well, if they were on the Bucks, they would have multiple All-Star appearances. And it's just simple as that. And my issue lies with the ones who don't see that, who don't understand a lot of accolades and a lot of titles that have been given to Khris as a result of the system that he's in, the team that he's on. And a lot of you guys like to blame Coach Bud for Chris's shortcomings, or I've even seen some people blame Giannis, and his flaws are the reason why Chris can't break out like he should, or and that's just ridiculous. Where was this Bud slander when Chris was a 2-time All-Star? And now I'm not advocating for Coach Bud. I want him gone as much as the next man does. But he can't make Khris Middleton dribble the ball well and not turn it over. He can't make Khris Middleton close out with effort. He can't make Khris Middleton dive on the floor for the 50-50 ball. He can't make Khris Middleton play defense at an elite level, even though he's paid an elite salary. He has to work with what he got, man. He got us to the Eastern Conference Finals, broke all these records with Eric Bledsoe and Wesley Matthews as our backcourt, man. Like, cut him a little slack. I'm not saying I'm not advocating for Coach Bud. I want him fired as much as anybody else, I'm sure. But he's a lot better than what a lot of y'all think he is, in my opinion. And I don't even think coaching matters that much in modern day NBA. But it's not like he's working with two superstars like most other coaches that are coaching contending teams right now are. You know what I mean? Like, he's working with Giannis, who's outstanding, and then you have a huge drop off. And, he's done what he can do, but it is time for him to go also. But with that being said, Bud is not the one holding Khris Middleton back. Only Khris Middleton is doing that. I'm pretty sure if Khris Middleton was the superstar or the second option, the Robin that y'all think he is, Bud would look a lot better. Y'all say, oh, well, Bud needs to coach Khris Middleton differently and use him like how Kerr used Clay. And it's like, well, Khris isn't Clay. Khris doesn't move off the ball like Clay. He doesn't play great perimeter defense like Clay. He isn't consistent like Clay. He just isn't. We need to stop doing that. It's just bad for Khris. And the stands are the ones that are responsible for that. And this is not to knock his game or his skill set. He's a really good player. But he's not necessarily what you guys make him out to be. And it's just, maybe it's completely unfair to him, but he's not what you make him out to be. You can take a sample size at the beginning of this season where I would say it was peak Middleton coat energy. It was peak energy there. Like, it was ridiculous. Up until about the All-Star break. He was arguably playing his best basketball ever, including, the years he went to the All-Star game, etc. He was playing his best basketball at the beginning of this season, in my opinion. You could say last year too, but he was kind of riding that bubble, momentum that he picked up onto the beginning of the season. And even with him playing that well, he was not voted an All-Star. So even at his peak, fringe All-Star, that's not going to cut it as our second option. It seemed like Giannis is the only superstar MVP, back-to-back MVP, that has to deal with pretty much bottom of the barrel scraps
Shit like that.
in order to get the job done. I mean, Drew Holiday's kind of changing that narrative. But, I mean, for crying out loud, he took Wesley Matthews and Eric Bledsoe to the Eastern Conference Finals. Those two players are pretty bad right now. They're pretty bad. And I'm not going to say it would be the same if Khris Middleton was to leave our team. Like, it would be just as bad. I'm not saying that, but I do think there will be a drop-off for sure. Giannis is just that good. He makes people that much better, including Coach Bud, including everybody. He makes everybody look that much more elite. He even make Horst look elite. He's the reason, Bud has won Coach of the Year with us. Horst has won GM of the Year. Khris has 2 All-Stars. These are all results of Giannis Antetokounmpo. If Khris was as good as the cult makes him seem, then maybe you guys wouldn't have to defend him so much. Maybe you guys wouldn't have to put on this act in this kit to save the Khris Middleton narrative that he personally drives into the ground. Can't blame any account on Twitter. You can't blame us for him not being able to break a double team, for him not being able to put the ball between his legs in traffic without turning it over. You can't blame us for him not being able to create his own shot at a high level, at an elite level. He's good at it, but it's not elite. It's not, it's not going to get it done consistently, which is why he's inconsistent. A lot of his shots are, to be honest, they're bad shots because they're extremely contested. He's just mastered making contested shots, and that's his gift to the world. He's a great shot maker with the hand in his face. He's also great in the mid-range. He's great at ISO, and he's, he has his pros. And I think this is what the cult leans on the most. It's like they drain this to the last drop for their arguments and their narratives. But his cons simply outweigh the pros, unfortunately, and a lot of that is due to the position that he is within our Bucks organization. And that's not hate. That's not hate whatsoever.
That's called motherfucking bars, nigga. You know nothing about that.
And I think with the addition of Jrue Holiday, it has shined light on these cons even more. Like, for instance, he's a below average defender. Hands down below average defender. Don't care about stats. Don't care about team defense, this, that, and the third. He's below average. A lot of it has to do with effort and energy or his overall lack of athleticism. I just think when Jrue came in and we get to see somebody else besides Giannis play defense at an elite level, it just kind of, we look at Khris like, okay, so you can shoot, but what else? Because Jrue's coming in and he just got here. He's bringing all these things to the table, and you were bringing maybe one, maybe two things. And I'm saying maybe two things, and I can't even think of that second thing outside of just jump shots. But that's just me trying to give him a little leeway here because he's not bringing defense like that. Y'all can claim he's bringing playmaking, but I've seen enough just atrocious alley-oop passes. I've seen enough passes in the traffic that just make no sense. I've seen enough dribbling the ball off his foot. In my opinion, he would be best suited in the Rip Hamilton type of role where he's not really dribbling whatsoever. He's just shooting. And that's not a max contract type of guy. And that's where the dilemma is always going to be. If Khris played elite defensively, everything would it'll cancel out. Everything would be A-okay with him. But he can't even bring it on that end of the floor. So it's like you have to look at the holes in his offense even more now because we can't look at his defense. There's nothing to look at. He has length, so he can, contest shots. So sometimes it's like, oh, he's playing great D. He was there. He was there because he has to be. It's his job. He gets paid. You know what I mean? But, I can name like 8 to 10 players on the team that plays defense better than Khris Middleton. Maybe less. I don't know. But it's just unacceptable in my opinion. But that's Khris Middleton. But regardless, that's not on anybody but him. And for those who are, angry, upset, tired of fans or quote unquote Khris haters online pointing out the flaws in his game, what else are we supposed to do? We've been dealing with this for years, and it's not like he's improving. It'd be different if he was improving. You know what I mean? He's not improving in a lot of these areas. Jrue coming in a real dog, man. He's a real dog. And us seeing this as a whole, as an organization, I think it kind of lowers the value of Khris just a touch, just a tad, because it's just like, okay, we paid this guy this much money. When Drew comes in and is doing everything that Khris is doing and then some on both ends. So now I have to look at Drew as our Robin now, even though Khris is this is his role. This is what he was before Drew was even thought about being on the Bucks. Now he's out of position. Now he's out of whack, and I think that's what's causing him to also, go into this quote unquote annual slump that he's in, that he has been in. It's the fact that it doesn't even need to be said. It's an energy thing. You clearly see who's being more impactful on the team, who slid into that second option role by default. It naturally happened. I think the narrative was to put Khris there and keep him there. But, talk is cheap. You got to walk the walk. Drew walks the walk. He doesn't need a coat behind him to prove it either. So that's just what that is. And that's not hate. That's not hate whatsoever.
That's called motherfucking bars, nigga. You know nothing about that.
He doesn't need a pitch. He doesn't need to convince you. He shows it to you night in and night out. Even when he has a bad shooting night, he's impacting the game. He's doing the little things, the 50-50 balls. He's putting his body on the line. I know somebody who's getting paid $170-something million to not do that. He's not doing that. The NASA shows more effort. Pat shows more effort. Dante shows more effort. You can go down the whole list. 9 times out of 10 are going to show more effort than Khris Middleton. I have a problem with that as a fan, and if that makes me a hater, then you need to look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, what do I want out of this Bucks team? Because if you're okay with that yourself, then I question your Bucks fandom. And I'm not even the one to do that. You cheer for whatever you want to cheer for. Think what you think. I don't care. But to go out your way and call people haters for stating what we're seeing with our eyes, what's the reality of the situation. That's just ridiculous. And you guys always point out, Khris haters, they're so contradicting. 1 minute they're saying he sucks, next minute you want to trade him for Bill. Make it make sense. How does it not make sense? You seen what the Raptors did with DeRozan? Got him up out of there, man. Sorry. He was good, but they got a better player for him. Why can't we do that? Why does Giannis have to settle with a fringe all-star? Somebody who has to have a whole pitch team ready to give you a reason why he should be considered what he's considered, as opposed to his game proving that. It's like even Khris lovers or, Stan cult members, you guys even know the holes in this game, but it's like you ignore it to keep your own personal agendas or narratives alive and, standing strong. And to me, that doesn't make any sense either. You guys see that he can't dribble that well. You guys see he's not a great defender. You guys see that, he's efficient, but he doesn't take a lot of shots. Whose fault? Like, I'm not, as a fan, I'm not accepting that, you know what I mean? And I don't think that we should, be looking at this team as a real championship team with a guy like that having such a huge role in our team. It doesn't make sense. Not everybody else have to step up and go the extra mile to make up for where he lacks. That doesn't make sense to me. I'd rather just move on. It's been years. I know it's past the trade deadline, but this has been me since before he signed his contract. So the whole, it's just ridiculous. It's hate. You're a hater. You hate him. You shouldn't be saying this. It's past deadline. You're bad. Like, no. You know what I mean? I've been saying this. There are others who have been saying this. It's just now that it's 2021 and we're a few years away from him signing that contract. And a lot of things that we've been saying has come to pass. I remember saying Levine is better than Middleton, Bledsoe. I remember saying, Bill is better than Middleton. A lot of guys are better than Middleton. And, at the time, you guys had all these narratives. Whether he's not an all-star like Khris is, or he's not efficient like Khris is. I'm not even going to say 50, 40, 90 because he's never been that. But he's gotten close. I've gotten close to a lot of things in life myself. But, I didn't get there, so I didn't get that reward for it, you feel me? But it just happens that a lot of things that, quote unquote anti-Khris Middleton people or Khris haters, a lot of things have just come to pass. And two things could be said about that. One, stats aren't everything. And just because, stats might show this about a person doesn't mean that's who they really truly are. And that's why you have to include the eye test. You have to include context, situations, coaching, personnel, role on the team. All of that it factors into, stats. And then another thing, it's just the fact that these quote unquote Khris haters that you guys refer to, they aren't actually haters at all. And they probably want to see the Bucks win the championship a lot more than you, which is why they snapped out of any delusion or any biased mindset towards our team. We understand the situation that we're in as a team with the addition of this net super team in the East, with the fact that, every other team in our conference they're on an upward spiral as opposed to us. Yeah, we got Drew. Drew's old though. I mean, he's not like old, but we have a few years with him before he, we kind of got to start looking at another point guard, but we got him post prime. I mean, you could still say he's in his prime, but from a physical standpoint, post prime. The Celtics, both of their best players are, young and still improving every game, you could say. The stats might not show it, but they're picking up that experience. Philly, you could say the same. The Heat, Bam is young, Jimmy is Jimmy. They're shooters, they're young. They still have a lot of room to grow. You can even say the Hawks, I'm not looking at them as a contender, but in terms of being relevant in the present and the future, our window is a little differently because of our Robin and our third option at this point, or you can even say the fact that we don't have any assets headed into the future. No picks. We have a pick now at 22 first. But knowing Horst, there's a good chance he might not even try to trade it. He'll draft a rookie, we'll stuff him at the end of the bench, and Bucks Twitter will argue for the whole season whether or not, we should fire Bud for not playing this guy. But, sooner or later, we're going to have to get a Robin that's on Giannis's timeline. Because at the end of the day, this is about Giannis. This is Giannis's team. Giannis is going to be the guy that's going to get us there. We need guys that's going to complement him to the best of their abilities. And I don't necessarily see that with Khris Middleton. Yeah, he can shoot, and Giannis can't shoot that well. So people think, oh, well, it fits like a perfect puzzle piece. It doesn't. It doesn't fit because from a mentality standpoint, they're on the opposite ends of the spectrum. Giannis is putting his all out there every night. If the shot doesn't go in, he's still gonna get his attempts. He does not care. It's like you can't say the same for Khris Middleton. Drew's mentality is a lot closer to Giannis's mentality than Khris Middleton. Khris Middleton does not have a championship mentality, in my opinion. And that's not hate. That's not hate
listen,
whatsoever.
That's called motherfucking bars, nigga. You know nothing about that.
I think that's going to be, something that's going to be a problem from now on going into the future until, either we trade Khris Middleton, the Nets break up as a team. I don't know. We're going to have to just catch a break. We're going to really have to catch a break for us to win with this roster, in my opinion. It has to be something that's like out of our control. But, just based on, what we've seen so far this year from our team and other teams in the league, I don't know. I can't really see it. The only way I see us ever winning a ring with Khris Middleton being our second guy from a duty or responsibility standpoint, like that's what he is. He's our Robin on paper. Giannis is going to have to be literally the best player ever in my eyes. Like he's going to have to develop a great jump shot so there's no wall. He's going to have to develop, he's going to have to be Wilt Jordan. Like Wilt Chamberlain mixed with Michael Jordan, bro. Like in order for us to consistently be a championship contending team with our current setup right now, with our current roster. That's just how I feel. And I know Giannis is great. And I personally feel like he has a chance to be in that GOAT conversation when it's all said and done based on his current resume and the fact that he's constantly progressing. You know what I mean? He's every flaw that he's ever had, he's touched up on it and he's strengthened that weakness of his. So I have to give props to that and I have to give respect to that for Giannis. But I'm not gonna be unrealistic, and say, if he doesn't get the job done, it's his fault. He has enough. Like, nah, I can't say that, man. LeBron never had to say that. Steph doesn't have to say that. Jordan didn't have to say that. Kobe didn't have. You can go down the list. And I guess, Giannis could be the exception. He could be the one that, ran through all these teams in this modern day Super League era. He was the one that, was a part of the team that wanted to stay traditional and old school like the 70s and not, make the big power moves in order to win a ring. He could be the guy that gets us there that route, but I'd rather just play the game like everybody else playing, make these trades, get that second superstar next to Giannis, man, and call it a day. We're wasting Giannis's prime years, waiting for Khris Middleton to believe in himself enough to be what we all see that he could be. I mean, we see the skill. It's not like he doesn't, ball out some games or play really well on offense, shoot the ball well, but that's the skill. But what about the effort, the mentality? And that's where defense comes into play. That's where, that effort comes into play. And that's where most of his flaws come into play is mental for him. So the whole, you guys keep saying Khris suck. He doesn't suck. Like, he doesn't suck. Duh. Like, come on now. But that doesn't mean he can't get traded for a better player that can help us now, that could consistently be a bucket, like a Bill, like a Levine, but it might be too late now. We should have traded him at his peak last offseason because his current slump that he's been in the past few months or weeks or whatever, it lowered his value, man. It's like if the fans can see the flaws and the red flags and the glaring holes, it's like, of course, these other GMs are seeing it. Like, oh, you don't think the other GMs seen OG Anunoby just pin his shot in midair, or they don't see all these, average players getting buckets on him on the regular basis or him turning the ball over on the regular basis. Like, that bubble don't matter. That game 4, second half, that's in the past. What is he doing now? If I'm a hater for not wanting to see that anymore, then what are you? What do you want from the Bucks then? Because I don't like sloppy basketball. I don't like lousy basketball, man. And when he's playing like that, I just can't really, I can't really go for it. And it's extremely hard to cheer for, knowing that we were just in the Eastern Conference Finals and knowing what we're up against trying to get to the finals this season. looking at the Nets, looking at, their mega three with their depth, etc. Even with them losing LA, they're still a very powerful team. And you guys can knock all injuries or, defense. They might not mesh. Who's going to guard Giannis? Who's going to outscore KD, Harden, and Kyrie? Y'all have yet to answer that. I have yet to see it. You know what I mean? So, I'm very concerned about our chances of winning the ring this season. Going into next season, I'm a little less worried because there's hope for change. You know what I'm saying? We're eligible to trade players again. We have a 2022 first to work with. Hopefully, Horst actually uses it in a trade, not actually, using it, but ship that off. Hopefully, attach it to Middleton. You know what I mean? Ship it off. We all know the Bucks. They're very late when they make moves. We're very late. We're like a year or two too slow. Like if we would have got Drew, a year or two ago, we would have a ring. If we would have let Bledsoe go, I mean, it's kind of the same scenario, but we, probably have a ring. We had a different point. We could have had Jeff Teague in the Eastern Conference Finals and got further than what we did. Or in the Miami series. I wonder if it's too late to get a great return on Khris Middleton. It's almost as if the whole world is, we know what the gag is with him now. We know what he can bring to the table. More importantly, we know what he can't bring to the table. And that's more important in terms of getting assets back for him. Not more important in terms of our team and, trying to win because, the more important thing is what he can bring to the table. He does a lot of good things well. He does a lot of bad things well, too. I just personally think we should have traded him after last season. That was his peak as far as value, from age, from results on the court, from stats. We should have traded him in the offseason. Sold high. Same with Brook. Unfortunately, the Dante trade didn't go through, but it would have been the same with Dante also. He's not ready. He's not ready. He's not ready to be a starting shooting guard on the championship team. It's just the facts. I feel more comfortable with Brent out there. I would say the same about Wara, Merrill. There's a lot of other guys I feel a little bit more comfortable with. I think Dante's he's a pretty good player. Shows a lot of effort. Goes hard on defense. A lot of red flags in his game. Similar to his shoes. And it kind of fits his whole Big Ragu theme. So it's just, it's inevitable that that's just who he is, He'll get a big steal and come down and miss a layup. You don't know what you're going to get with him. No, I'm not saying Merrill, Wara, and, Brent and other options are necessarily just flat out better than Dante. But it's almost like they're more comfortable with themselves. You kind of know what you're going to get. Like, they play their roles well. Brent is a shooter. He shoots. Merrill is we know a little less about him. But we know he's a shooter. And he's consistent. You say the same with Wara. But with Dante, it's like, okay, he can shoot. His percentages has improved with his, playing time, etc. And I want to, shout out to him for that. He has improved his jump shot, his 3-point shot. But when I think of Dante, I don't think he's a shooter. I don't look at him as a bucket. I don't even think he can develop into that. I mean, I'm not going to say he can't. He could. But we're not into the idea of what someone could be right now. We're trying to win a ring. Our window is now. Based on our personnel on this team, our window is now. Based on the draft assets that we don't have, we have to be thinking about winning now, today. And I don't know. It's like I know what Drew's gonna bring to the table: elite offense and elite defense. I know what Khris is gonna bring to the table: some jump shots. I know what Giannis is gonna bring to the table: superstardom. I know what Brooks gonna bring to the table: very, very weird 3-point shots at the worst times. But sometimes he'll hit. But regardless, he's gonna block. He's gonna box people out, which is very beneficial to our team overall, and our rebounding as a whole. He's gonna protect the rim. We all know Brook has his flaws. I don't want to get into that, but he does what he can, and we know what to expect from him. But with Dante, it's like you don't know. One minute he might give you 15 points. 1 minute he might give you 2 points. 1 minute he might give you 15 rebounds, and it's just like, all right, cool. You can rebound. You know what I mean? But I don't need my shooting guard trying to be Moses Malone. That's just not what I need him to do. And that's not hate. That's not hate whatsoever.
That's called motherfucking bars, nigga. You know nothing about that.
I don't think, I don't even think that's what he thought he would be doing as his role on the team. You know what I mean? He's just trying to find something to do, trying to find his fit in because he's the default starting shooting guard. That bogey trade didn't go through. He had to deal with the results of it folding and him having to stay here and be in a situation to where he's forced to develop even faster. He's not doing that. But we'll see what happens with Mr. DiVincenzo. And to be fair, he's supposed to be in Sacramento right now. He's a developing young player. He never started in his career. He shouldn't be started on a contending team, and they tried to fix that situation, but it failed, and we're here now. So, but man, if we had an actual superstar second option, Dante would be a great off-ball guy. You know what I mean? He'll be a great, just kind of plug into the starting role. But for our personnel, he just doesn't fit in our starting lineup, in my opinion. If we had Kawhi at the 3 instead of Khris Middleton, with Dante and Drew in the backcourt, championship, we'll probably 3-peat. But that's not the case. I'd rather have Malik Beasley, Malik Monk. If we're going to do a young shooting guard, give me one that actually plays shooting guard. You know what I mean? Not just out there just to be an athlete, a positionless athlete that can't really dribble that well, not really a consistent scorer. But when he does well, we all love it. But, we just never know when that's going to happen. Same with Khris. It's like we all wish he could play like he does when he plays against the Timberwolves. We wish he can do that every night. We wish he could do that against the Raptors. But it's, when the stakes are raised, I can't say that Khris Middleton raises his playing ability. And no, Game 4 against Miami last year in the bubble, there was no pressure. The stakes were not raised in that scenario. The series was over. Giannis was hurt. We snuck a game in. You know what I mean? He didn't have any pressure to do that, in the way I see it. And when the pressure was actually on, now where it's like, okay, they got one game in. Let's see if they can do it again and make it an actual series. He flopped. When he was actually, by himself. And for me as a Robin, you're supposed to step up when your main guy is down and help us win games, not lose games. So that means playing both ends of the floor. That means, it means being elite. Not by just stats, by eye test also, by, effort, by energy, you know what I mean? And not just one half of a game. And that's not hate. That's not hate whatsoever.
That's called motherfucking bars, nigga. You know nothing about that.
And I think a lot of people, they point out the Heat series and they think, oh, he was the only reason why we won that game. And, he was our best player that series, this, that, and the third. As if Giannis wasn't hurt. And as if Giannis didn't ball out completely out of his mind in the first half of Game 4. to even give us momentum to even have a chance to eventually win that game. Most Khris stands or cult members, they definitely point out, game 4 is like their main argument. Either that or 50, 40, 90. And both are kind of weird arguments because one, you're arguing over the fact that we didn't get swept. We got gentlemen swept. Well, we barely won one game. So how are you using this as your main argument as to why we shouldn't trade this guy? Because he barely got us one game when Giannis was hurt the whole series. And if Giannis didn't ball out against Orlando, we wouldn't even have gotten to the Heat series. We don't even think about that, though. It's just Khris won us a game. Well, in that first half, you take Giannis' production away, we don't win that game. That might have been a blowout because the NBA is about runs. The game of basketball is about runs. It's about momentum. It's about energy. It's an art. It's about energy. Y'all got to stop saying, Khris won us that game by himself. He definitely deserves a lot of credit, but he didn't win us that game by himself. He played well that series. I'm not even going to say he played well. He played pretty good. A lot of our guys didn't play well that series as a whole. Hence why we lost as a team. It's not like we lost and then only Khris won. You know what I mean? Like that one game. Like nah, we lost and won one game. You know what I mean? Lost 4. So I think I think that series for me is it's a personal outlier for Khris Middleton. And I understand the Celtics series, the 7th, 3rd, but Giannis was healthy those Celtics series, man. That series right there was the series that I really, looked at Khris and I saw who he really was. And mainly in that game 5 when the focus was really on him. He shot like shit, man. Like 22% from 3, 30-something% from the field. I think he fouled out. Yeah, he had 20 points though, So that's good for his overall average. So the argument's better for the stands. But, all in all, it wasn't enough. If we had won that series, yeah, there should be absolutely no trade Khris ideas out there. We lost, bro. We lost the whole series, man. Like convincingly, very convincingly. In the game we won, I'm pretty sure the Heat went into that game like, let's just get this out the way. We're done with them. You know what I mean? Like, especially with Giannis being hurt. I think they also took their foot off the gas a little bit too. And that's why game 5 was a completely different game. I'm not a big stat guy, but looking at plus minuses, Khris's plus minus was pretty bad for most of that series. I think 3 out of the 5 games he had like a negative plus minus. Jimmy giving him buckets, you know what I'm saying? Like, should have been West guarding Jimmy a lot, or should it have been? Looking at contracts and looking at length and size and position, Khris is supposed to be guarding those elite wings. But, we take that responsibility away from him for whatever reason. And that's not hate. That's not hate whatsoever.
That's called motherfucking bars, nigga. You know nothing about that.
In modern society, man, money is power, unfortunately. But with that being said, if you have a lot of money, you have a lot of power, and with power comes responsibility. So until Khris burns all his money from that contract, which he would never do, he's gonna have a lot of responsibility on his team. He's gonna take a lot of quote unquote bashing and a lot of quote unquote hate if he's underperforming. And that's just the reality of sports. And when he performs well, he gets praise. He gets the applause. You know what I mean? He gets the all-star appearances. Even though, in my opinion, That was just a result of him being on the Bucks. Our record, you know, last year, Levine, Bill. There's a few other people that, you know, definitely probably deserved it from an individual standpoint more than Khris. But I'm not taking that away from Khris. He definitely got those. He deserved those All-Star appearances. He got them, you know. Can't knock that. Can't take that away from him. But lately, he hasn't been playing to his best of ability, so he's been getting a lot more bashing and a lot more quote-unquote hate. Can't blame nobody but him. You can't call people quote-unquote haters for holding this guy accountable just as much as they hold anybody else accountable. But it's just like, because y'all are Christians, he's off limits. We can hold everybody else accountable though. Giannis used to get so much slander within Bucks Twitter when he underperformed, but he stepped his game up, man. He improved. And when he's in his slump, we recognize it and we acknowledge it. When Bud is playing or when Bud is making questionable decisions, we point it out. When Dante's being inconsistent, we point it out. When Brook is thinking he's Peja Stojakovic, we point it out. When Khris has 20 points, we're still going to point out the fact that he's lazy on defense. Like, that doesn't mean we're hating. That doesn't mean, oh, he had a good game. We're still looking for something to pick at. No, he still can't play defense. Like, sorry. You know what I mean? Tell him to work on his lateral quickness. You know what I mean? He has a lot of money. He can get the trainers now, man. Like, it's enough of y'all holding these guys' hands. It's been years. It's been a lot of long nights of being stressed out for the stands defending this guy. I know it has been. I know you guys are just, you hate waking up on Twitter probably seeing me tweet or retweeting, Khris Middleton trade ideas. You know what I'm saying? Half of it is me trolling because I know it gets to y'all and I don't care. But the other half is like, I've been saying to trade this guy for the longest, so I'm not finna shut up now because y'all told me to shut up for years, telling me I was wrong, a bad fan for years. But I have yet to be proven wrong. And I don't care about being right. I just want my team to win a ring. And y'all to make it personal, y'all get all, I don't know. I think it's because y'all be having a lot of followers and y'all be getting all these retweets and likes and y'all do this whole groupthink thing and this whole, I don't know, man. But I'm not really entertaining any of that. If I'm a hater and some of you guys, it's cool. You know what I mean? But if we ever get to that point to where we're winning the championship ring, none of this is going to matter. You know what I mean? You're not going to be able to say, hey, well, you can't cheer for us now that we've won because you didn't like Khris Middleton enough and you didn't think that he was a great defender. Well, he wasn't a great defender. You know what I mean? Like, what do you want me to do about it? Like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that every time I watch Khris Middleton, somebody's getting a bucket. They could be making $2 million a year, $22 million a year, or $42 million a year. They're getting a bucket on Khris Middleton. I have a problem with that. Because I think defense is all mental. It's effort.
Shit like that.
That's who really wants it. That's confidence. That's a lot of things that I think, and that's my main thing with Khris Middleton, man. It's mental with him. Yeah, he lacks athleticism, but I've seen unathletic guys play great. Tayshaun Prince, for example. That's kind of taking it back a little bit, but there are guys out there who've won championships that hasn't been the most athletic, or that wasn't the most superstar qualified out, if you want to say that. But those guys had a lot more effort than Khris Middleton, man. I'm sorry. It is what it is. If the bogey trade went through, there would be a lot less trade Middleton takes. If this Nets team didn't form, there would be a lot less trade Middleton takes. But that's the reality. And also the fact that we don't have any assets. So it's like, okay, if we need to improve this team to win a ring, what route do we have to go? What options do we have? I'm not trading Drew. Especially after all the assets we just gave up to get him. And the fact that he fits Giannis like a glove. Like they're both elite on both ends. Both are championship level players in my eyes, even though they haven't proven that yet. But they've convinced me enough personally. Gotta trade Khris Middleton. It's the only route. Nobody. What are you gonna get for Dante? You might as well keep Dante. If that's all you're trying to do is to make that needle moving jump, you have to include Khris Middleton now. And I think that's another thing that's getting these stands, a little emotional, because the inevitable is happening, and it's just shattering their illusion, man. And when I say stand, I'm not saying fan either. There's two different things. You can cheer for this guy, you can clap for him, as we all do. But the stands are the ones who are obnoxiously overrating this guy to the point to where it's like, okay, if he was that, which y'all think he is, we'll have a ring. We don't have a ring. We haven't had one in 50 years. So I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. You call it hate. I just call it the facts, the truth, man, the truth, the truther. You know what it is. It's Bn4p all day, every day. This is my first little podcast. I never really thought about doing nothing like this until recently. Y'all know I talk my stuff on Twitter all day, but it's never that serious for me, man. I'm really just, Twitter's mainly for jokes and laughs for me, man. I be having a lot going on in my personal life, so kind of use it as an outlet to get away, man. Try to get some laughs in and stuff like that. But don't we all do that?